Hello and welcome to this introduction to reported speech, a course by Askademic specifically created for students of English with an intermediate level. On this course, we are going to be focusing on the main ideas, usage, and practice of this grammar topic. We're going to focus on the most important aspects so that you can learn and acquire these concepts in a short amount of time. My name is Monica, and we're going to get started with what you can expect to learn in this course, which is organized into 5 lessons or parts into 5 different videos. So notice we are here now in lesson 1, which is an introduction to reported speech. This means that you don't have to worry if you don't understand all the concepts now, as we will be dealing with each of them in detail later on. Also, at the end of each video, there's a final section with exercises related to the aspects covered in each lesson. So, on this first lesson, an introduction to reported speech in English, we are going to cover the main characteristics of reported speech. Don't worry, we'll be repeating these ideas throughout the 5 videos until you acquire these concepts. I'm so excited to be here accompanying you through this reported speech training journey. To begin with, we can report what someone has said in 2 different ways. We can use direct speech or indirect or reported speech. Right? I like chocolate, she said. Notice that this is direct speech. We repeat the speaker's exact words. Then remarks are placed between inverted commas. I like chocolate. There's a comma, a little comma, or sometimes a colon that is placed immediately before the remark. So this is direct speech, right? Repeating the speaker's exact words, the speaker's actual words, and using inverted commas and a comma before the remark. Notice that we can say, I like chocolate, she said, or she said, I like chocolate. We will see this in lesson 2 when dealing with reporting statements. And we are going to learn as well about the use of tell and other reporting verbs. Then we find indirect or reported speech with backshift in time or not. What does it mean? We can report the previous statement and say she said that she liked chocolate. In this case, we are going 1 step back in time from present to past, right? We are using a reporting verb. She said that she liked chocolate. So in general, we change the tense 1 step back in time, like from present to past, from past to past perfect, from present continuous to past continuous. And then when we use reported speech, we don't need a comma placed before the remark. And notice that the word that, which is a pure conjunction, can be omitted in formal speech. In informal speech. That means that we can say, she said that she liked chocolate, or she said she liked chocolate. So we can omit that. Sometimes we don't need this going back in the verb tenses. Like, we don't need to change from present to past, from past to past perfect, and so on and so forth. So we may keep the original tense and say something like, she says she likes chocolate. Now, when does this happen? When passing a message, for example, Anna says she's busy and she'll not be able to attend the meeting. So we don't need to say Anna said that she was busy and she wouldn't be able to attend the meeting. So it depends on the context, it depends on the situation. Sometimes we need backshifting and sometimes we don't. Then when repeating a statement that is still true, in general, we don't need these verb changes, this tense changes. For example, Ben is my boyfriend, she said. Well, she said that Ben is her boyfriend because he's still her boyfriend. Of course, depending on the situation, we could say she said that Ben was her boyfriend, right? Or when somebody is reporting something that somebody usually repeats and says, or remarks that people make very often, like, for example, Bill says he will never get married. Okay, in that case, there's no backshift. But depending on the context, again, we may say Bill said that he would never get married. So, in order to report, we need reporting verbs. We will see this in detail in lesson 2. There are different reporting verbs we may use, like say, tell, ask, advise, warn, suggest. Some of them behave in different ways. Let's take this sentence. I am living in Paris, Jane said. Again, we can report it in this way. Jane says she's living in Paris because she's living in Paris now. So, or depending on the situation, we may say Jane said she was living in Paris. What can we report? We can report statements, affirmative sentences. We can report questions, and we can report functions, such as when we need to give advice or giving commands and requests, warnings, suggestions. Remember that we will be dealing with reporting statements in lesson 2, reporting questions in lesson 3, and reporting functions in lesson 4 in detail. When reporting statements, in this case, I am very happy today, Kate said. You may say, Kate says that she's very happy today. Or you may choose to make the necessary changes and say, Kate said that she was very happy that day. So you are reporting, you are shifting in time and place as well. When you are reporting questions, we have to notice that there are 2 types of questions, WH questions or yes-no questions. WH questions are questions that contain a WH word. For example, what, where, when, how, which, who as well. What's your name? She asked me. She asked me what my name was. Notice the word order changes. It becomes an affirmative sentence, not a question anymore, and we remove the question mark. Now let's pass on to yes-no questions. Yes-no questions are questions that are answered by a yes or no, right? Are you having a good time? Yes or no. Do you like coffee? Yes or no, right? So, are you having a good time? She wanted to know if I was having a good time. So we report yes, no questions with if. But notice the second example. Do you want some tea or coffee? In this case, it's a yes, no question with two options. So when you have two options available, we're going to use whether instead of if. So she asked me whether I wanted some tea or coffee. Now we pass on to reporting functions, such as giving advice or commands or requests. You should take a rest. He advised me to take a rest. In this case, we use the reporting verb advise. He advised me to take a rest. And notice the use of to, infinitive. Speak English. He asked me to speak English. Or he told me to speak English. Can you open the window, please? He asked me to open the window. So notice that so far the structure repeats. We use a to infinitive. The same happens with warnings. You should not touch this. He advised me not to touch that. Right? However, when we use suggest, it's a different story because suggest has a different structure. When you use suggest, we use a that clause or an ing form. He suggested that we should go to the park, or he suggested that we went to the park, or he suggested going to the park. We will see this in detail in part 4. So, what are the usual changes that we need to make when reporting what somebody said? Verb tenses, in general, present simple changes to past simple, then present continuous into past continuous, past simple into past perfect, present perfect into past perfect, past continuous into past perfect continuous, then simple future, will, changes into simple conditional, would, can changes into could, may into might, and must into had to, right? So sometimes pronouns change as well. In this case, look at this example. I am cold here today, she said. She said she was cold there that day. So notice, word order changes, verb tenses change, pronouns change because she said I am cold. And then when you report it, you say she said she was cold. She said here, but you say there. And she said today, and you say that day. So also when we are reporting, some typical changes have to be made in time and place words. For example, today changes to that day, tomorrow to the following day or the next day, yesterday to the day before or the previous day. Then when you use ago, 2 days ago, into 2 days before, now changes to then, here to there, come to go, this to that. So several changes occur, and we will discuss this later on. So we have finished this introduction and we're going to practice now. I'm so excited to check your understanding. Let's do it together. To report what another person said, we can use only direct speech, only indirect or reported speech, or both direct or indirect speech. What do you think? Take your time. Are you ready? Let's check the answer. Both. Remember, there are two possibilities at the moment of reporting. You can say, she said, I am cold, or she said she was cold. Number 2. In direct speech, we repeat the speaker's exact words. Repeated remarks are placed between inverted commas. A comma or colon is placed immediately before the remark. Are you going to choose one of these, or all the above answers are correct? So think of direct speech. Like, it's a beautiful day, she said. Are you ready to check your answers? Yes, all the above answers are correct. Now, let's see what happens in indirect or reported speech. We generally use a reporting verb. We generally change the verb tense one step back in time. Generally, remember, when there's backshifting. And we don't use the speaker's exact words. All the above answers are correct. So what do you think? All the above answers are correct. Okay, I'm being too nice. So far, so good. So, the word that can be omitted in formal speech, in informal speech, or it can never be omitted. What do you think? Let's take some time to think. In informal speech, we can do away with it. I think, or I am, that she's wonderful, or I think she's wonderful, or she said it was a beautiful day, or she said that it was a beautiful day. Okay, what can we report? Statements and questions, only statements, or statements, questions, and functions? What do you think? Let's check your answer. Statements, questions, and functions. Number 6. Tense backshift is always necessary when reporting what someone said. Is this true or false? Remember, tense backshift, going one tense back in time. Is it true or false? Do we always have to backshift? It's false. Okay, how are you doing so far? 7. When there is tense backshift in reported speech, certain changes must be made in verb tenses, pronouns, word order, and time and place of reference. Is this true or false? Are you ready? It is true. This is what we have been commenting on. 8. WH questions and yes-no questions have the same characteristics and are reported in the same way. Is this true or false? Take some time to think about this. False. They have a different structure. Remember that WH questions are reported in one way and yes-no questions in another way, with using if or whether. 9. When reporting questions, the form of the original question changes into a statement and we omit the question mark. Is this true or false? Are you ready? It's true, right? It changes into an affirmative sentence and we do away with the question mark. And we're getting to the end. I'm so excited. When reporting functions, the verbs advise, warn, tell, ask have the same grammar structure than suggest. Is it true or false? It's false. Okay, so I would like to thank you. It has been great. And on behalf of Askademic, I hope you have enjoyed this introduction. So see you later in part 2. Bye bye.